Today you see two easy to sew and fit pants. They have a flat front, elasticated back, super comfortable, pockets on the front, pockets on the back. Here's one of them, flowery print, but I also have a classic black and white one. And you'll see all the details of how to sew this cool waistband. Stay with me. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today is about pant sewing. Since the beginning of my pant sewing journey, I've always enjoyed it. I did have a pretty long hiatus where I didn't sew any pants because I lost my favorite pant pattern. Then I splashed into pant making again. Last year I created a very comprehensive pant fitting series for you, and I based that series on pants that are pull on, easy to sew, that have an elasticated waist. If you still haven't seen that series, I really encourage you to see that and watch that, because if you're not sewing your own pants, you are missing out. You can really customize them to fit your body, and they are always going to fit so much better than the ones you can find in the shops. You can choose the best fabrics and have exactly the pants that you like. And today I've got another pant pattern that would fit this category of easy to sew pants. These are the poppy pants from Sinclair Patterns, and it is a brand new pattern release. And these are really cool. When I saw the line out there, I couldn't help but apply to be a pattern tester. I've been testing these pants recently and really enjoyed it. As the main feature, they have a flat front and an elasticated waist. So the waistband on the front is curved, it's got two pieces, it really conforms to your shape, it's not a rectangle. And the back of the waistband is a rectangle and has an elastic inside. So you can still pull them up because the elastic at the back will give you that ease to be able to pull it over your hips. But on the front, you won't have the bulk of gathers that you might get when there's elastic all the way around the waist. Not in this case, it's only at the back, and I really enjoy that. You can choose between two different lengths. You can choose Capri length or full length. You will find both of those lengths in the pattern piece, and at the hem you'll see that it's true to those different types of hems. There's also a longer cuff if you want to sew that. So you'll see these little triangle bits poking out on the side seams, and that's just the truing of the hem, which I think is awesome that it's there in the pattern. You can choose pockets, and they are all optional. You can make these without pockets, or you can put all the pockets there. It's your choice. And on the front you have slanted pocket openings. You would have seen how I sewed those in yesterday's video, because when I was sewing my poppy pants, I was filming those pocket tutorials for you. So you saw that in yesterday's video. At the back you have the option of putting rectangle patch pockets as well. All up to you. You know if you like those pockets or not. I have skipped back patch pockets in the past when I have a pant made of a really busy print where you're not going to actually see that pocket there. If I ran out of fabric, I might not put a pocket there. If I'm making pants with a solid, I will always want to have that patch pocket there because it just looks so much better. The way that the waistbands are united on the side seam is very interesting because you construct them separately, the front separately, the back separately, and there's a really cool technique that puts them together and it's finished super neatly inside. The poppy pants are designed for woven fabric, so not for your knit fabrics or stretch wovens, not for that. You need to find fabric that doesn't stretch. Light to medium weight will work well. Really light denim, chambray, tencel twill, linen rayon blends. Maybe a bottom weight crepe would be good as well. In my case, I've used a bottom weight crepe, and it's a really flowery crepe that I've used in the past to make a bomber jacket with, and I've used what I had left over to make the capri length. And for my other version that is full length, I've chosen a rayon linen blend. Super nice. I love that type of fabric for pants. Always, you'll never go wrong if you choose a rayon linen blend, or even just 100% linen would be awesome as well, just more expensive. If you can hear voices in the background, it's my neighbors over there making a lot of noise, but I need to keep filming. I hope you can't hear them. Other notions you need are interfacing, because the front outer waistband is interfaced, not the inner one. And you also need some interfacing to use on the pocket openings, as you saw in yesterday's video, that is included in the pattern instructions. For the elasticated back waistband, you need some elastic, 2-inch elastic, so a pretty wide one. If you can't find any of that, you can use 1-inch elastic, or maybe a little narrower than that, say 3/4 of an inch, and put that through 2 casings at the back instead of 1. Because the poppy pants is a new pattern release from Sinclair Patterns, that means it's 20% off. I have more details about the 2 I've made in my blog post below that you can also read, and I'll also leave you my affiliate link down below. I make a small commission if you buy your patterns through that link. It is one of the ways I make an income making free helpful sewing content on YouTube. So if you purchase from there, it really helps me and I really appreciate it if you do. So thank you so much if you do support my work through my affiliate link. The sizes available are 0 to 30 US, but before you choose your size based on your full hip, you need to choose your height first, and this will make such a huge difference in the fit. I say these pants are easy to fit because part of pant fitting has so much to do with your height, how tall your hip depth is. You know, it varies between women of different heights, and that's usually why being taller, I always need to lengthen the rise on every single pant. And maybe if you have made patterns for yourself and you're petite, you find yourself making the rise shorter on your pants. Well, because Sinclair Patterns drafts the pants according to height, you might not need to do that many rise adjustments, and if you do, they won't be so big. So that's really good. I choose my toe file there. The largest size 30 goes up to a full hip of 63. You do need to choose your size based on your full hip because that is the widest part, and your pants need to go up through your hips up to your waist. So you can blend sizes. If you have a different waist size to the hip size, you can always do that as well for a perfect fit. And you can find instructions of how to do that in the pattern with diagrams, and that's always super helpful. In my case, I didn't need to blend sizes here. I had the same size 16 waist and hips. And then I choose my size based on my full hip. I chose a size 16. Now for the pattern test, we were encouraged to make a muslin just as it is, choosing our size and just checking the fit as it is without pattern adjustments so that the designer could see a trend within different testers. So I did measure my pattern. I knew I needed to add a little bit to the front only, but I made my muslin and it was actually pretty good straight out of the printer. Very good. At the back was perfect. I didn't need to make any modifications to the rise at the back, only to the front, 3/8 of an inch. So sewing my muslin and being 95% happy, I made my adjustment on the pattern, which was just slash at the front, nothing on the side seam, and 3/8 of an inch at the center front. That's how I cut my front, and it fits really well. Because I chose the toe file, it means that the leg length was perfect and I didn't need to add anything to the leg length. You know, I usually need to add 2 or 3 inches sometimes with other brands that don't have height files. I think the height files play a huge part of them being easier to fit. In a Close and Sew Personal, you are going to see how to sew the waistband in full detail. It's going to be super helpful if you've never sewn a waistband like this. Don't be afraid of this type of waistband. It does take a few extra steps, but it's not hard at all. You're going to see it looks harder than it really is. In yesterday's video, you've already seen how to sew the pockets. I've put it in a separate video because it is a general technique that you'll find in a lot of patterns. Let's see how to sew the waistband. After finishing the pockets on both sides, you can see the pocket bags are right there. I placed both legs right sides together and sewed the crotch right here. So the front is one piece and it's ready to go. For these pants, the front waistband will be sewn onto the front waistline separately and the back separately as well. This is the back. The patch pockets are already sewn. I determined the position I wanted them to be by trying that on my muslin first. There is a reference there, and mine are about 3/4 of an inch higher, about 2 centimeters higher than the original. And then after sewing the patch pockets on, I put the 2 back legs together and sewed the back crotch curve and serged that. The back waistband will be sewn onto the back waistline separately also. What I have here is the back waistband. Now this one is a rectangle. I chose any of the bottom edges. It doesn't really matter which one because it is a rectangle. I did a guide stitch also to help me press it up by 5/8 of an inch. I will remove this guide stitch at this stage because I don't need it anymore. It was just there to help me press accurately instead of eyeballing. And the back waistband looks really wide. It's because this is the area where the ease is and there's going to be an elastic inside to make it gather. So we have already got our back piece ready. Patch pockets are on. And now what we need to do is I'm going to sew it on the reverse. I'm going to place the waistband right side to wrong side of the pant and just align this along the top like this. Pin it and sew it. Now I'm sewing the back waistband onto the back waist, right side of the waistband to the wrong side of the pants, because I'm doing it in the reverse way. If you are following instructions, then you are doing it the other way. You're putting your waistband right sides together with the pants on the top. Trim away the seam allowance. You don't really need all that bulk inside. When we turn this to have the fabric right sides up, we are going to press the seam allowance up, and this waistband will come and cover that seam, and then we're going to top stitch there on the edge. Now that seam is nice and pressed, I'm going to bring this over, get that fold to just cover that seam right there, and I'm going to pin this all along the top of the waistband. After pinning it, you know I will be hand basting this down before sewing it on the edge. That is the edge hand basted there. Now I don't need to worry about pins, and I've got my presser foot that will help me sew on the edge really neatly. Move the needle to the left. Okay, so the back waistband has been sewn on. You can see that it was done separately from the front. In this space, you will put your elastic. You have two options here. You can use a 2-inch wide elastic, which is the one I have here. This will fit nice and snug into there. The other option, if you don't have this width of an elastic, is to sew in the center right there, a stitch, and have two small casings and then place smaller elastics inside. I don't think 1-inch elastic would work. I think you need like 3/4 of an inch wide there and there, because the casing will take up a bit of space. So you can have those two options. Now the elastic length here, calculated half of my waist measurement, and I made it 1.5 inches smaller than that. So that's what I have there. I'm going to put a safety pin on one of the sides of the elastic and just start threading this through the back waistband here. So before you get to the other side, actually, once you have the edge of your elastic on this side, I'm gonna go ahead and put a pin there so it doesn't go in further, and I'm just gonna do a basting stitch to hold that in place right there on the edge. Okay, now that that end is fixed in place, I can keep pushing my elastic through until it reaches the other end, and it will gather it up at the back. Now tuck that until it reaches the edge, just like it was on the other side right there. And I'm also going to baste that closed. That's how the back waistband looks. I think it looks really pretty. It's all gathered in. Now the elastic I have is quite thick, quite sturdy. I don't think it's going to be folding and flopping inside. But just to be on the safe side, I am going to stretch this now and sew in the middle right there to hold the elastic in place. I don't want it to be flipping around or doing anything in there while I wear it. Once I have enough so I can grab it here, I'm going to keep that stretch, but I'm not going to be pushing it. I'm just going to be letting the feed dogs do that. That's how that looks on the back. There are the patch pockets. And now we get the front piece to show you how to sew the front waistband. I'm going to be using this from another pair of pants I'm making. So you have two curved waistbands. They are cut the same, both the same. One is interfaced, one isn't. I have actually two different types of linen here, just a solid one and the main one that has this type of print, because I ran out of fabric. So the one that has the print is going to be my outer waistband, the one that you'll see on the outside, and the solid black linen is going to be the one that goes inside. I have placed them right sides together and pinned them along the top curve right there, not along the bottom edge. You can see it has a shape going up like that. That is the one that I've pinned together. Now I'm just going to open these up. This is the interfaced one, the non-interfaced one. The non-interfaced one, I did a guide stitch at the bottom edge with 5/8 of an inch with a long stitch length. I pressed that up 5/8 of an inch. It's all nice and ready to go, and I already removed that guide stitch. So now I'm just going to go ahead and sew this, trim the seam allowance and understitch. Okay, I've sewn that, and now I'm just going to trim the seam allowance from the top of the waistband. It is 5/8. I think it's a little wide to leave in there without doing anything. So I'd done all these steps before with the flowery waistband, and I had my camera on, I was looking at the little screen. I finished it and I realized I'd never pressed the record button. So luckily I had another one to film. Okay, so I have some snips there that will help. And now this seam allowance at the bottom that's folded up by 5/8, I think it's a little bit much too. So I'm also going to trim this down. Now the back waistband, I sewed it onto the pants on the reverse so I could top stitch from the right side of the fabric. But this one, the front waistband, you need to sew it on traditionally. So after trimming all of this, I'm going to place the waistband right sides together with the pants, and that's how you would do a traditional waistband. So now what we're going to do is extend these two pieces. You see I have a shorter one, and that's because it's been folded and this one hasn't. This is the interfaced one on my right hand and the non-interfaced one on my left hand. I'm going to push the seam allowance towards the non-interfaced waistband there, the inner waistband, and sew on the edge right there, and that will understitch. Some people like to understitch from this side, and that's why it's called understitching, but I don't like doing that because I want to see it. This is a seam that will be seen, at least you will, and I think it's done nicer if you do it just like an edge stitch. It accomplishes the same thing, which is to move that inner waistband to the inside and leave it there without it being seen. Okay, so this is how my waistband looks. When I press the inner waistband, you can see it's going to be like a 1/16 of an inch inside the seam, and from the outside it'll look super clean like that. This is what we're going to sew onto the front pants. The two front legs are already together and the crotch seam sewn. And the interfaced waistband, the outer waistband, that's the one that we're going to place right sides together with the pants. I'm going to pick up with this waistband because this is the same stage I was at when I realized I'd lost the footage. Got the waistband pinned onto the pants, right sides together, the waistband to the pant right there, catching the pocket area all along the top edge. Now I'm sewing this with 5/8 seam allowance. After doing that, I'm going to trim just like I did with the back waistband. Now, if you've been wondering how on earth do these two waistbands come together, now is the time. We did all these separately, so we have a separate front and a separate back. Put them right sides together, align them at the side seams. From the bottom, pinned it up, that's the hem, all the way up to here. And this is where we just sewed the waistband. The front one, it's still open, extended like that. That seam needs to match the edge of the back waistband at the back. And now you take this and you wrap it around like that over the back waistband. So you have the back waistband in the middle, that's the one that has the elastic, and the front one wrapping over it like that. And now this edge that's in here, that was the one that we had pre-folded, should match this edge over here like that. I'm going to pin that there. Now in this area it's going to be a little bit bulky. There are a few layers here and also the elastic that's already inside the back waistband. But this is how this gets sewn now. You sew from the top, including all these layers, and then you sew all the way down. And then when you're done sewing that, what you're going to do is flip this, and that's how the back waistband is going to come from inside these two sections of the front. And then this is still open. This is when we pin this there, and then we finish by top stitching right there on the front. On the other side, I've got it partially pinned also. The seam of the front waistband to the pants will match the one from the back. This will wrap around like that, and that's how it gets sewn. After pinning both of these areas on both of the sides, I've pinned the whole leg all the way down, and then I've also pinned the inseam. So there's a lot of pins going on here. I'm just going to do lots of straight seams now. Seam allowance is always pointing up towards the waistband on both sides. And now if we take this front waistband and flip it, we have the seam allowance here coming from inside both waistbands. The back is enclosed within the front. We have to serge these seams, and then I have to go and finish this waistband. Align this over the seam line right there, pin it and sew it. The other side's the same, seam allowances going up, you flip, and that's how the back waistband is finished. I have the inseam sewn that I have to serge, so just nice serging to do, and then finishing up this waistband. I've serged the side seams, neatened everything up. The inner waistband was loose. I've just brought it to the inside of the pant, make sure it covers the seam by like 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch or something very small, and then I've pinned it from side to side. And now I'm going to hand baste this, and this is the way traditional waistbands are sewn. You always sew the waistband onto the right side of the pants like that, and then flip it in, and then when you top stitch on your right side of your pants, you're trying to catch this back part. That's what I try to avoid by sewing them on reverse, but with this waistband technique that encloses this back waistband, you can't do that on reverse. You have to do it this way. There's no other way. Now when I sew here, it is going to be very bulky. There's elastic in there, there's several layers. I'm just going to be careful there with my sewing machine and lengthen the stitch length probably to 4, just on that little section right there. And of course I'm going to be hand basting this now after pinning it, making sure that that fold covers the seam. I really want to catch all of this, and there's always the risk, even with hand basting this down, that when you sew from the other side, from this side, you can't see what you're doing. Sometimes this moves and then you have a section that's not sewn down, and if you've sewn waistbands, you know what I'm talking about, and that's what I try to avoid with hand basting. Okay, there it's hand basted, the pins won't bother me, but I have to sew this from the right side of the pants. When you start, that's where all the bulk is, so I'm doing this super carefully and slow. Whenever I sew a waistband in the traditional way, the moment of truth is when you flip it and you check on the wrong side to see if you've caught everything. And yep, there's nothing that wasn't caught. So I think the hand basting was worth it. So that's it. Basically, all I have to do now is hem and I'm done. This is my tester version, made with no changes to the pattern at all. It's got everything like the pattern, size 16, toe file. This is a Capri length. As I mentioned, this was a leftover from sewing a bomber jacket, so I didn't have a lot of fabric, but I made the Capri length fit, and these are so nice and fresh to wear. They feel really light on the body. They have a really nice flowery print, and you can see the flat front right there that is curved. It's been top stitched on. You saw exactly how to sew that. And at the back you have it elasticated. I have done some top stitching there to hold the elastic down. I find that even if I have an excellent quality elastic, you know, when I wear it, the elastic still wants to flop and fold over onto itself inside if I don't sew it down. So I've sewn it down once, and you know, if you didn't have wide elastic and you wanted to sew this first and then put an elastic here and an elastic there, on the outside, the appearance will be the same whether you choose a wider elastic or 2 narrow ones. Super easy with a nice hem that's been trued. On the inside, the pants look very neat. The front waistband, you can see how it unites there, and the back waistband has the elastic comes from inside, so it's really clean. With this technique, your side seam will be pressed towards the front. That's just what you have to do. The pockets right there, I have my slippery fabric as the pocket facing, and that will just slide over the leg. The patch pockets on the back, I always check the fit with my muslin. I would never just sew a back patch pocket where the reference is on the pattern, because it might be different for your body type and your shape where you want it to be. And I find that for most of the patterns I've ever made, I always place it about 3/4 of an inch to an inch higher than what the reference is. My pocket is 3/4 of an inch higher than the reference line there, although everything is the same, like the distance here to there is the same, they're just a little bit higher. And here are my slanted pockets. They fit so well. This area has been stabilized. It's really nice and stable. It's not going to stretch out in the form. I just paired these pants with this blue top for some photos, so let's see how it looks on just over there under the trees. This is my tester version of the poppy pants from Sinclair Patterns. I made size 16, toe file. Minor fit adjustments, very minor, and I'm very happy with the fit. This is a Capri length. There's also a full length version and one with a cuff at the bottom as well. You have pockets here that have slanted openings there, quite a nice amount of space in there. At the back there's some patch pockets. This is a medium weight crepe fabric with lovely floral prints, super nice to wear. The waistband at the front is flat, so you can see there's no gathers, no elastic there. It is curved. It does reach my natural waist, super comfy. That's the way I like to wear my pants. Pocket opening is really stable with some interfacing in there. It's not going to deform and start stretching out and sagging and gaping, so that's good. At the back, the waistband is elasticated, so it's totally separate. You saw how I sewed that. There's a patch pocket there. You know, with the print you can't really see it, but I wanted to do it because I had enough fabric. The pockets are optional. The pockets on these pants are totally optional. You can make them without pocket, front or back, or just do the back. They were a pleasure to sew, super easy to sew, and something different with the waistband. You know, a flat front elasticated back is gold because you don't get the extra bulk at the tummy with the gathers. My next pair is a long pair that I'll show you next.
Baby, I'm here and I'm watching you move. There's just one thing you should know. Girl, you are my fire, all that you desire. Swear I'm not a liar, you should dance with me. You should get to know me, kick it with the homies. Let go of your worries, you should dance with me.
My second pair have a modification to the pocket, and you would have seen how to do this in yesterday's video. You can do this modification to any pant that has a slanted pocket opening as the original design. If you want something different, if you like how the curved pocket looks, you can try that, and that's what I've done with my second pair. These are not like a tester pair because I did make a hack, so I wouldn't say this is my tester version. This is just the one I made after doing the tester version. So here it is, black and white linen. The fabric is so nice and the print is so unusual. It's got that type of thing going on vertically. I've used this same type of fabric in the past to make a shirt that I use like a little jacket. I wouldn't wear them together, I think it's too much, but I did buy a lot of fabric in the opportunity thinking I wanted something on the top and the bottom, but not necessarily to wear together. I have the flat front waistband and I have the elasticated back. My patch pockets are right there. So nice. And to make a difference here, I have the curved pocket opening. On the inside of the front waistband, I also have just black linen right there. For the pocket piece, I have the solid black, and I have my slippery fabric as the pocket facing right there. Now, I sewed the waistband on these pants differently. Although it looks exactly the same, it was sewn in a different way, completely different, and I've got that extra footage on Patreon. So on the saffron and orchid tiers, if you join, you are able to see extra content, more than what I put on the channel. And I already have a lot on the channel already, tons of free content, but over on Patreon you can get even more. So I welcome you to join if you want to. You have a more direct communication with me through the messages as well. You can see how to sew the waistband in a different way, which might be a little easier. So I had enough fabric for these to cut them full length. I used every single scrap. They are so nice. I can wear this with anything on top, with any color, but I've just paired it with a simple black top so you can see this. And I'm also over there, let's see. These are my second poppy pants in a printed linen, black. I love this print. These ones are full length. I have pockets on the front, pockets on the back, and I really love the black and white. As you know, it's a classic that I really like sewing. I do have front patch pockets, but I did modify the shape of the pocket entrance to be curved. It's a little hack that you can do with the same pattern pieces. Just a tiny adjustment just to do something different. I have a half tuck situation going on just to show you the flat front waistband. But in my regular life, I would wear this normally. I've never felt comfortable tucking in. I think the print of this linen is so interesting and so different. I've got my front flat waistband there that's curved with the print. There is a curved pocket entrance like that, similar to what jeans have. These ones finish higher at the hip. The other ones finish lower. You still have the same good amount of space in there, it's just a different type of entrance. For the pocket, the patch pockets at the back are rectangles. I've placed mine 3/4 of an inch higher here on the top, just personal preference, and I determined that on the muslin. And elasticated back, super comfy. not bulky at all. I'm really happy with the feet everywhere, the crotch curve, the front, the back. The poppy pants are sort of like unicorn pants for me because I made them as per the pattern, and I had to do the tiniest adjustment, just so small, which was add 3/8 of an inch to the rise in the front. That's all. The rest is just the 16 toe file, and I'm so happy. Fits everywhere like I like, and I really enjoyed sewing that. I think having the toe file makes a huge difference. I didn't need to add any length to the legs, which I usually have to do with other pant patterns that are not drafted for my height. And yeah, so comfy, so nice. Just the basic comfy pants that fit really well that I could make a lot of. I really like the fit and look of these pants. I think they're super classic. You could make these and wear them for so many more years to come because the style is not a trendy style as such. It's just the type of pant that you want to wear. The tapered leg is nice. It's not super tight. It's not wide. It's just perfect. The waistband is super comfortable. The pockets are easy to sew. And all the sizing features with height files just make it so good. So if you haven't tried a pant pattern and you want to try one, I think you'd have a great result with this one because the height files actually make a huge difference when you're sewing pants. I think they do for sure, and I've had to make barely any fitting adjustments, which is not common. I always need to change so many things. And in this case, the change was so minor, it was a breeze and just a huge pleasure to sew. I really recommend this pattern. And if you want to try it, I will leave my affiliate link down in the description below. Also the link to my blog post. They are 20% off for the first week, so you can get them for a little bit less and have fun sewing your pants. Remember to check out my Let's Sew Easy Pants fitting series. I'm sure it's going to help you a lot. Please subscribe to this channel, tap on the notifications so you never miss out when I upload a new video. All of my videos have helpful sewing content, something always really practical for your sewing, so you're missing out if you're not subscribed, just saying. And I will see you tomorrow again. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.